You're listening to the Wired for Impact podcast. First and foremost, explain what polarity is so that we're clear on what that is and we can take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic conversation and topic. And it's my favorite thing. So I just love to speak about it. Polarity is something that I discovered through pain, actually. And what that is that we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. And so it's not that men only have masculine, women only have feminine. I have masculine and feminine energy in me. My husband has masculine and feminine energy in him. Our relationship, our marriage broke down when we were out of balance within our own masculine and feminine energy. So, for example, I was operating at around 80% masculine, 20% feminine. Now, the numbers are arbitrary. It's just to illustrate the point. As a result, that impacted him and his masculine and feminine balance because he was trying to keep polarity. So what that means is masculine and feminine energy attracts. It's like a magnet. So there's polarity there. So you pull each other together. That creates the intimacy, the passion, the deep connection. So then if I am out of balance, it knocks his balance and vice versa. So we end up depolarizing each other. I.e., if I'm in my masculine, inauthentic, and he's in his authentic masculine, we've got masculine on masculine that will repel each other like a magnet would, like positive on positive or negative on negative. Mm-hmm. And so really polarity is about when I'm in my authentic feminine balance, so it's about 70% feminine for me, about 30% masculine, and everybody's is different. That polarizes his authentic balance in him. And also he has to do the work on maintaining his authentic balance. Mm-hmm. So he's more masculine than he is feminine, which is why we're an ideal match, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. The problems occur when you're firstly out of balance yourself and secondly out of balance in the relationship.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. You explained that perfectly. I think the challenge that a lot of people find, I personally went through this when you start to have a family. I think initial attraction, especially when you're young, you tend to be more in that center of energy that is consistent with your identity. And then you all of a sudden start having the stress of building a family and building a life and having bills to pay, but specifically around childbearing or childbirthing. I have found has been a significant shift in so many relationships because a woman naturally goes into a masculine energy to lead her children, to prepare and plan for them, to create schedules, to protect them. And the men in that same time, I remember watching my then wife go through childbirth and you're helpless. You have to go into a feminine energy. You can't do it for her. So you go into a very supporting, nurturing, what can I get for you? Are you uncomfortable? How can I do this? And without knowing it, I've seen couples, I did this myself, where you just sort of years go on and you go into a depolarization where the man is looking to nurture and what do you need and what do you want to eat and where do you want to go? And they're letting her lead and she's more in her masculine. For those that may be just coming online and realizing that maybe they're in a depolarized relationship, how do you repolarize?
Yeah, it's a really profound question. The first piece is acknowledging where you're at. Motherhood and mothering is a really masculine energy, right? And particularly if you're, certainly for me, married to a serial entrepreneur who, as soon as the babies were born, the pressure for him to go and earn and provide got 100x because he had two mouths to feed, right? Or the alternative, if you are very much nurturing and like you've described. So what I have come to realize is in my relationship and my marriage of 28 years now, and we've been together 33, is that, and this is an ongoing process, by the way, and you're absolutely right. I have found whenever there's a profound change in a relationship, it can flick the switch and it can cause depolarization. So that often is children, that's often relocating or a new home. It's something big, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I've come to realize is that for a woman, if she's in fear a lot of the time, she will go into her protector mode because she doesn't feel she's protected, because the man has gone into his feminine, and that's not protector mode. So the key, I believe, is that if she can settle into feeling safe and he can settle into leading, even when it's uncomfortable and even when she's confused and doesn't receive it in the way that he intends, if he can hold the storm, she's going to settle even more into her feminine. But he has to be able to hold the storm and know that it's not personal to him, because it really is not. She's having a battle with herself. She may not be aware of it. It may not sound like it. But until he holds that storm, she can't do anything but protect herself because she feels unsafe.
Let's zoom into that for a little bit, because I know that this is oftentimes the pivot point for relationships, where she's experiencing a storm and his capacity to stand in it and lead her through that is paramount. And oftentimes, and you just said it's helpful if he doesn't take it personally. On the other hand, when the storm is aimed at you,
yes,
and it's you're the reason why, and
yes.
this is it's hard to
So hard.
navigate that. So help us out. What for somebody that's for in those critical moments, what does standing in the storm and leading her through the storm look and sound like to you?
A beautiful question. And firstly, I want to honor all you men that have really, really experienced the storm. It's not a great place. It really is not a great place. And it is extremely difficult. I have no idea how you do it. Honestly, no idea. And I also know that it's also the gift of expansion. If you can hold that storm, you grow massively. And that is the reason Mother Nature provides it for you. Right. So that's the first key, understanding that this is an opportunity for you to grow, not an opportunity for you to get taken by the storm. Right. And then the second piece is a technique that I often use with my male clients is, can you witness her as a little girl? Can you see her? If you have a daughter, can you see her as a little girl? What would you do? And I'm not saying you treat her like a child, but I'm just saying, what is the feeling that happens when you see that this little girl is frightened? She's terrified. And she doesn't even know what she's frightened of. Can you witness her in that moment and disregard everything, the verbal diarrhea that's being flung at you? Because in her mind, she's going, I really don't mean this. I'm so like, it is such turmoil for a woman, particularly when our hormones are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making excuses. We do have to do the work. I have to manage my storm. And there are times when I can't because I'm so hormonal. But with the storm and the higher the storm, the equal amount of passion that woman can hold.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So if you're enjoying that level of passion and charisma and sex appeal and gorgeousness, then this is just another aspect of her full rainbow of emotions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there a time when the boundary gets crossed where he may need to say, look, I understand you're feeling this and this is your storm, etc., but this is not the consistency of this or the frequency, the intensity of it is not serving me? When should a man say,
enough,
this is dysfunctional and this is not serving me, and it's not respect to stay in this is disrespectful to myself?
Yes. So this is a really good, brilliant question. And what I have come to learn is that it's never at the time in the storm. And I'll tell you why. She's not receptive. It will create more of a storm. You are dealing with a child in that moment. You cannot reason in that moment. And this is why I really recommend that you have what I call love meetings in the marriage, where you sit down, where you're both calm and collected, and you sit down and you discuss what your boundaries are. And in that moment, you discuss that, look, when this sort of behavior happens, and you disassociate it from the woman, you don't say, when you are like this. The language is really important. When this behavior happens, it makes me feel like this, and that isn't healthy for me or us. So as a man, I want to protect us. So in that moment, I am going to walk away, or I am going to just do something to take care of me, and whatever that is. And I'll be back. Because the last thing you want to do is leave her in the storm. And you go and take a moment, take a breath. Right? Or there's another technique that I use, is where we use a code word. So I have said to him, my code word is yellow flowers. And it has to be a word that is completely arbitrary, that doesn't trigger you. Right? I like yellow flowers. I like sunflowers. Right? So when he says that, that's a code for me to know that I'm triggered, for me to know that you're in this storm right now, because I'm not even aware of it. Right?
Explain that. How do you not know when you're coming at him and he's the source of all your pain?
I am aware that he's the source of all evil in that moment.
Right.
I am, and it's super clarification. Thank you. I am unable to stop the momentum. So I need a pattern interrupt, and I need one that we've both agreed. And for him, it's code red.
That you say to him?
Yeah. When he's in his trauma.
So when you're in the storm and the energy's coming in and it's expelling, he stops and says yellow flowers to you.
Yeah.
Correct? What does that do for you? Like, literally walk us through emotionally, mentally, what happens for you in that moment?
What happens for me in that moment is I go, oh, hold on. And I literally go, I just take a moment, because it stops me dead, because we have discussed what that means. What that means is he's identified, I'm on that high-speed train to self-destruct, right? And I have explained to him that when that happens, that he should ignore everything I'm saying and doing and just ask me, what do I need? So he pattern interrupts. He asks me what I need. And in that moment, I can say, I need a hug. I need you to just listen to this garbage. It's not about you. Right? So we have discussed what our blueprint is, but we discussed it when we were both in a neutral state.
Yes. Sober, not influenced by
right?
biochemicals.
And can I say we get it right every time? No, we don't. No, we don't. But it reduces the number of storms, and it reduces the length of time that those take. And on the flip side, it reduces the number of times he loses his temper and shouts, and me feeling unsafe.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Wired for Impact. If you're interested in creating and expanding your impact, be sure to visit us online at impactnow.com.